And I am the Empress of Venus. We are the Kumaras, my sons. Yes, I have all sons. Who would have known that? Such is life, and they are known as the great Kumaras, one of which has been in service to your planet for many years, my beloved Sanat Kumara. Today, Venus is ascended and free. Your starships will find no life on the third dimension of planet Venus. Your starships will have to come in a fifth dimensional frequency to visit our people. We live in the fifth dimension and greater dimensions of Venus. We graduated our purpose after 3 golden ages. Your peoples are now entering their 7th golden age. Like your race, we are a root creator race. We too are an I am race. We did not suffer the fall from grace. And of course, we knew from the beginning ourselves, what you can simply understand as spiritual beings of consciousness. And we knew the divine purpose of being given life in a biological form. And that was to understand the very cellular nature of our biological forms and begin to weave the sacredness of our consciousness within our forms and gently raise the vibration of our forms until our full God self would emerge. The ascension of the people of Venus was not so much a raising activity as it must be now for the people of Earth. The ascension of the people of Venus took place in their homes on the surface of Venus, where their own great God presence that you see depicted in the chart would descend completely into the biological garment that had been prepared for them, that after generations of time of raising the frequency, the light, the love quotient of their garments, they made their garments ready for the full I am God self to descend and come forth as fully ascended beings without leaving the gravitational pull of the third dimension. Then at the end of the third golden age, we raised our people entirely into the fifth dimension. And that's where we live. And your scientists, your space people will have to discover how to raise their frequency into a fifth dimensional frequency if they're ever going to see us or visit us. Of course, it has been now over 70,000 years since the Director Logos called upon me to play a guardian role over planet Earth and to help planet Earth and her people find her way again. Today, there are growing numbers of you who gather at events, and you're making a difference. And I would like to tell you that as our people continually grew and knew the importance of communicating with their own great God divinity, we established a program where the people of Venus would gather in sanctuaries that would seat 25,000 people. And we taught our people too the ancient art of decree and communicating with the solar hierarchy. And can you imagine 25,000 people decreeing in rhythmic decree perfectly? It is truly a sight to behold. And it is such a a massive use of free will, that in the end of 3 golden ages, I was able to raise our people fully into the ascension and be an ascended planet able to assist other planets at this time. Sacred to the people of Venus is what we term the 5-fold flame, which eventually evolves into a 7-fold flame. The 5-fold flame begins with the flame of peace, purity, harmony, justice, and liberty. Once those flames take hold and for a period of time are releasing their qualities within a group of people, within an area, once they have matured to a certain place, then 2 flames are added and they become the 7-fold flames. And the flame of eternal light, the flame of cosmic love, is added to the original 5, being the flames of peace, purity, harmony, justice, justice and liberty. Our people, and especially the Kumaras, and those who guard the royal family, those who guard all the people of Venus, they are called the Lords of the Flames of Venus. They exist by the hundreds of thousands. And there are always new life streams that are in Venus that are choosing that occupation. In Venus, it is the greatest service. And both those in masculine and feminine garments can be trained to become members of this service, Lords of the Flames of Venus. They are the great protectors, first protecting the royal family, then protecting the people of Earth, the planet of Earth, and then offering service wherever I am asked to offer service to other worlds. Over the last 17 years, since your planet has entered into the 7th golden age, we have increased the number of individuals. We've been taking in more individuals to train as a Lord of a Flame of Venus. We've been increasing it tenfold, and we are ready to dispatch many of these cosmic troops, you might consider, to planet Earth. In the past, since the days that the great Germain and the mighty Victory made themselves known to the American people, we began to dispatch some of the lords, but not very many. 3, 4 here, 3, 4 there. At any given time, we may have had up to 75 lords of the Flames of Venus in service on the earth, assisting where they can. As I said, since the beginning of your 7th golden age, and in preparations of this, we have been increasing the numbers of those that are taken into consideration to apply for this service. And as a result, very, very soon, by the early hours in 2018, we will be dispatching the magic number of 12,144 Lords of the Flames of Venus to the earth. And we know that this will make a big difference. Each of these groups, and they usually form in groups of 144, and they will come with specific directions, areas of service to help the people of Earth and the governments of Earth, especially those who are truly seeking democracy in its most truest idealistic form that honors the people, and the governments of the lands honors the people itself. We know and trust that the dispatch of 12,144 Lords of the Flames of Venus is going to make a significant difference upon your planet. They have the ability to correct much of the misuse of what you understand as security, central intelligence, services of national defense. They have the ability to overlight, to bring forth, to overlight those in such services, to bring forth whole new ways of governing themselves and their people, which is never an abuse of the people itself. We watch as the many governments in your world try to gather information together to try to gain a greater control of the crime and the terrorism and the war that is presently in your world. At the same time, your own ascended host from the dimensions above your own third dimension are working and overlighting individuals, and individuals who more often are discouraged from taking on, from becoming a part of politics, becoming a part of government, in the situation where we see so many people being discouraged. Many of your own ascended host are overlighting individuals, and that's really something. To be overlighted in a way that you don't know you're overlighted, except to know that there is something new that's growing in you, a desire, and maybe even a desire to serve, where a year, 2 years ago, the idea of getting into politics or some particular form of science and service just would not have been something you would have considered. This is a big movement, and progress is being made. There is a changing of the guard that has begun in that which concerns the world leaders in your planet. Of course, what happened in America recently has many individuals confused, and all I can say is I will join the Maharishi in saying sometimes the most interesting people are elected, and if a true divine plan is to come forth, then ultimately there must be those situations that touch a life stream that begins to perhaps diminish an interesting personality type and begin to really bring forth the principles of that purpose, of that person, and what it is that they really seek to do in helping a nation. Canada elected a new leader of the ages, Justin Trudeau, and France has just elected a leader who has never been in politics, never served in politics, Emmanuel Macron. It'll be interesting to see what occurs in the lands of Germany, which has a strong foothold in the European Union. We see the election, or rather the passing of the torch in England after the Brexit referendum. We see the passing of that torch to Prime Minister May as a very, very positive step. It is a wonderful activity, and I say that from my own personal knowing. When a woman can be placed in charge, and the great love of that woman is accompanied with a steely-like will and power and force that basically suggests to others, don't mess with me, gentlemen. I have a mission, and I will complete that mission. So we are observing a changing of the guard, and what I mean by that is a changing in the leadership in many of the world's today, the world's nations today. that have a prominent place in influencing world events. So seeing this change, it is very important that there be those sacred activities, those spiritual activities that can increase upon the planet. They will not necessarily increase by those who are given the position to lead nations. Rather, spiritual authority and spiritual powers, because of what has happened on this earth, it's not the way it was originally intended. From my own planet as an example, from top down. And I have used this, my authority, in a way that has allowed all of my people to their great God freedom. And this was intended to be the ideal. What is the ideology behind a royal family? A monarchy that will govern their people in the way that encourages each individual, each citizen, to prosper in all the ways they desire to so evolve themselves. It has worked wonderfully in Venus. Yet on Earth, it has not worked due to the duality and the sinister force that has too often become a part of world leaders. And so it is a given that today the spiritual powers will not be placed in the hands of political leaders, world leaders. Rather, the decision has been made as part of this seventh golden age that the spiritual powers that are required to bring forth the most constructive changes in nations and changes in the ways of the people that also create a healthy planet, that those spiritual powers must be endowed upon the people themselves. And that spirituality, that spiritual freedom, that spiritual will and spiritual power will be sufficient to so influence any elected official. And I say to you, beloved Americans, that you have, yes, in relationship to the global population, yet you have many millions of wonderful Americans who are awake. And if you fulfill your own purpose, if you rise to everything that gives you life, as Father, as Son says to you, if you will keep saying yes to the greater life that has brought you forth into embodiment upon this planet, all of you in spiritual groups, and especially those groups who will refuse to enter into judgment of anyone, then I say to you, you have the spiritual power. You are unfolding wonderfully. You are carrying a radiation, an energy and vibration that the mass of the American people are not yet carrying. And therefore, the mantle is upon your shoulders. And the realization that you, the people, and the awakened people are intended to be the ones who shape those who somehow find themselves in great position of political power. To realize that whether it be a president, a senator, a Supreme Court justice, it is you, the people, that are intended to shape the unfolding character. Life does not end. Life is constant in its evolution, in its growth, in the opportunity to constantly become more and more of God. And it is you, the people, that will truly, if your current president survives what is going on, and I will not speak into that, but if he does survive it, then I say to you, beloved hearts, Germain addressed the American people through the Radiant Rose Academy shortly after the election and explained that the pendulum had to swing. Individuals of certain other spiritual groups went on the attack against the academy because of the words Germain spoke. Some even said, "How can you be spiritual and conservative? If you are spiritual and awake, you have to be liberal." And of course, these are nothing but judgments and opinions and beliefs that have nothing to do with the truth. The truth is, the more that you box yourself in with a label, the more your own life will be limited. Why don't you, beloved hearts, why don't you join the greatest spiritual political party? And that is the party of everything. So that when people ask you if you are conservative or liberal or Democrat, you simply respond, "I am all of it. I am everything." That ought to bring about a good conversation. But let's get to the business at hand. With what the Archeus and the Maharishi Osho have planned, what they have invited for you, I have the power to use my authority as princess, as the Empress of Venus, and as the Director Logos has asked that our people, that the monarchy of Venus watch over the people of Earth and to help turn the people away from a destructive path or a path of self-destruction. This gives me some authority to work with your own Earth's ascended masters and bring forth, if I can educate, if I can illumine some of you of what we can do, and then if we have the cooperation. Because once we teach you about what we can do, the next thing, it's in your hands. It's in your hands to use your free will and say, "All right, Goddess of Venus, Lords of the Flames of Venus, you are offering us a great gift that will help our people, a gift that will help our nations, and eventually all the nations of the world. And then you must use your free will and ask us to do it." So I spoke of the two mighty flame sets of Venus, the fivefold flame and the sevenfold flame. And now I'd like to tell you that those flames of peace, purity, harmony, justice, and liberty, and once they mature, we also add the flame of eternal light and the flame of cosmic love. They exist everywhere throughout Venus. In the smallest gathering of peoples that you might call in the plains, hamlets, or villages, we have the five or sevenfold flame. Even if there's only maybe 10, 15 homes in an area in a community hall, we have our fivefold and sevenfold flames rested upon any building that can be seen as a building that is official, that is governmental, that is religious. And if none of those buildings exists in small hamlets, because we too have great farmlands where there are small hamlets, and even if all there is a community hall, a community center, then we have the sevenfold flame, the fivefold flame there. And what do those flames do? They are constantly lit. You know the generic term for the sacred fire, when it appears individually, is called the unfed flame, meaning that that flame is fed only from a spiritual source, not from anything in the outer world. And these flames, just as your own fire element in your world gives off a radiation of heat and light, our flames, like the sacred fire that you're calling into your world, each gives off the quality that that flame has been charged to release. So whether it is in our great cities and our great or our own palaces where the monarchy lives, whether it is great halls of where congregations meet to practice their faiths, whether it is a municipality and perhaps the place where the mayor and the councilors meet, or whether it is a larger seat of government, everywhere in Venus we have the fivefold flame and the sevenfold flame. And they are releasing their qualities, projected into the lower atmosphere, and the people's garments, their outer selves, are breathing those qualities in. And therefore the people themselves become the flame of peace and purity and harmony, justice, liberty, light, and love. And that helps the people. These qualities help the people to cultivate themselves, to fulfill their dreams. I would imagine that in these United States of America, and in your 50 states, from that which are the large cities to small townships or even hamlets, that wherever there was a religious building, wherever there was a government building, a municipal building, or even if it's such a small hamlet that it just has a community hall, imagine if all these places have the fivefold flame and the sevenfold flame, anchored and projected either inside somewhere or the very, very top. Imagine on the crown of the Goddess of Liberty, the statue of the Goddess of Liberty in New York Harbor, if that crown is lit with the actual sevenfold flames of Venus, how that would influence the people of New York. Imagine in the beautiful upper ceilings of Congress, in that beautiful dome that you see, the sevenfold flames of Venus, influencing their radiation, passing through the mental, physical, and feeling bodies of all that gather within. Imagine those flames placed somewhere in the Oval Office of the White House. I can tell you that any room that the sevenfold flames of Venus are placed in, it is impossible for any destructive action to ever take place. It is impossible for the caretaker of that office to ever make a decision, consciously or unconsciously, that would be against the people, the nation, or the planet. Can you imagine how this would make a difference? Can you imagine that if there is to be a magnificent conference, such as the Paris Accord that took place, was it last year, regarding all nations signing up to make a contribution to minimize the carbon footprint, and to do their part? Do you remember this conference, the Paris Accord? Well, imagine when such conferences take place, imagine that we give to the United Nations, that we give them a number of sevenfold flames, that wherever there are conferences, including the great financial conferences, the group of 8, group of 7, whatever you call them, and imagine during that conference the sevenfold flame can be placed right on the center table. Of course, those who gather will not yet have the raised sight, so these flames will be invisible. I know that some of you that have been on the path for a while can get into such a relaxed state that your own divine energies can momentarily pass through your sight. And then for a moment, you see beautiful patterns of light. You see them out in nature. Sometimes you see them around an individual. So This is happening. You are on your way. The gentle journey, and it must be a gentle journey, for there is no intention for there ever to be fright upon you. But that gentle journey, there must be some who are prepared to see the invisible. Because, precious hearts, that's what closes the door on the past. And it opens the door to everything. It opens the door to the future. And who amongst you would desire a new relationship with I, the goddess of Venus, or my royal family, the Kumaras, and calling to us and asking us for our kind of love, to enfold you in our love. Our love is called cosmic love supreme. Every race, every planet loves to call love by their own name, and that's our name, cosmic love supreme. Seeing the invisible. Have you really thought about it? Is it an idea that just passes through your mind once in a while, or is it an idea that you might say, maybe I should really think about this, really put my attention upon it? Because just placing my attention on the invisible long enough may draw to me the light that is necessary in my brain, may expand the 7 flames of Elohim within the brain structure so that a greater electronic current is taking place inside the brain, may draw to me greater purification and light into the optic nerve, into my use of sight, because I am ready. I am ready to see and to honor the invisible. An angel is invisible to you. The sacred fire that you are asked to step into once a day, the pillar of the sacred fire, it's invisible. Although any one of you with enough practice and your hand out as you call forth the violet flame, you can feel what is first the warming sensation, which is the purification occurring, and then the warming sensation passing through your palms is changed to a cooling sensation. And when that cooling sensation has taken place, you know that the purification of your emotional body is complete for that session that day. So already you are appreciating many of the activities that your presence, the angels, and the ascended host can offer you. Yet you all know that if you could see some of those activities, it would probably influence you. If you could see an angel, if you could see one of the great goddesses, and if you could see members of your own royal family, they are not seen as your royal family. We know they are. Mother Akasha addresses them. You've heard she hasn't often explained into it, but she has referred to them as the first family. And one day they will return. And Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene will reign with the rest of the first family, Mother Mary, as the new monarchy of the people of earth. Yet there are some on the earth today who must achieve their destiny, and some of them are in current monarchies in your world too. So a lot of change is coming forth in the future. But think about this. How would that change you? I feel it would change you substantially. Ponder it for a moment. Ponder it. If an angel stepped into your home and made themselves visible to you, could reach out and allowed you to touch her, that would change the course of your life. That would put you not 98% on the path, but you would be 100% student of your spiritual path immediately. And what if Jesus Christ stepped into your room? He knows that you are all untouchables in training. He knows that there are times that he has to come in and increase the powers of resurrection. He is the authority for this. Don't you feel that if Mother Mary stood visible before you, that would change your life for eternity? There would be no going back. And just her presence, if Mother Mary stood in your private quarters, the past would be gone immediately. Now, what do I mean by that? There would be nothing from the past to deal with. Nothing. The entire past would be healed. Feeling like a magic wand had just been passed down through you. And I know because Mother Mary, especially since she's been raised to Queen of our solar system, she has visited me often. She's come seeking to be tutored and mentored. And my goodness, the Mother Mary that was in your world 2,000 years ago, that Mother Mary doesn't exist anymore. Unless you get a chance to really sit with her for 5 minutes, then you would pick up the vibration of Mother Mary that was here for 2,000 years ago. But that is your first family. That is the first family in the future. And that's why I will join Jesus Christ and Mother Akasha and others and say to you, for those of you who felt to leave your religions behind, that's fine. They may not have served you. But as the Empress of Venus, I say to you, don't leave the first family of your planet behind. Regardless of what you believe, 70,000 years have been in the making to bring forth the first family of the people of earth. And they are Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and Grandmother Anna. And Germain is in his embodiment as beloved Joseph. And the twins are on the planet at this time. Jesus and Mary Magdalene's twins. They are hidden. Their identities have been hidden. They are here. Your planet is ready for greatness. Yet that greatness will only take place if you will hold steady to the truth of who you are. Hold steady to your heart and to everything that makes you sing. To leave behind all that has been the history. Every student who strives for freedom must pass through because of the history of your own people. Every student must pass through tests, trials, and tribulations. Mother Akasha tells me, advises me, that phase is behind you. And the last phase for all of you to rise up and out of is the great rousing. The rousing activity began for many of you a number of years ago. Some of you are completed. Some of you have completed it. For others of you, it's just beginning. But enough of you have gone through the great rousing. As Mother Akasha teaches you, when you are ready to become less of the human and more of your God self, if there's anything that's been hidden in your mental, emotional, and physical body, anything that's been covered up, it must come up. It must come up to be healed, to let go. And it's not to be engaged. Whatever comes up is to be met with every spiritual truth that you have. And I say to you, it is possible. I hope you understand. I hope you have heard enough of Mother Akasha's discourses when she's talked about the rousing. Do you feel that you know what the subject is? It's all of a sudden you find yourself facing something and you didn't expect it. You thought you'd advanced along the path of life far enough, only to find that something's acting up. And it can also be not only a mental acting up, an emotional acting up, a physical acting up. It can also be a moral acting up. None of it is intended to take you down. It is only to reveal something that got hidden deep within yourself. And it has to come up. It has to be cleared. And you have the pillar of the sacred fire to do so. And you have the authority to command of your own energy to say to yourself, I am a living son, a living daughter of God. I am the light and I am the love that is coming into this world. And if there be anything inside my mind, my body, my feelings, anything that is an offense to my God divinity, I say to that energy, leave me now. And I command it in the name of my own God dominion. And I command it in the name of Jesus the Christ. And I command it to the great guardian of our planet. I command it in the name of the goddess of Venus. Anything inside my mind, body, and feelings that might be an offense to my divinity, I say to that energy, leave me now. And I say to you, that's a far better thing to do than to have to meet that energy in the rousing. The rousing is when something comes up, it's been hidden. It may have been a cancer cell. It may have been a terrible thought, a belief that if it gets a hold of you could bring you down. It may be a painful emotion that was stuffed so deep in your emotional side of life so that you could survive. It may be of a moral situation where all of a sudden you feel cut off from everything that is the upper half of your garment, and everything in the lower half rushes forward and tempts the morality of the world upon you. So I say to you a few things here. You don't have to go through the entire rousing where these things are roused up to be cleared. From the authority of this Ascended Master's Earth Council and my presence with you today, the Goddess of Venus, if you care to do this in your own private quarters and speak directly to your mental, physical, and feeling body. Remember, you are not your body, so you're not talking to yourself. You're talking to the container that you use to function in this world, with the realization that in the container of your mind, your body, your feelings, something might have got in there. It might have been at youth, and it's been buried, but the closer you come to God, this must come up and be cleared. And if you're not ready for it, it's just there, and we call it the rousing. Then you have to face it. You have to face it with every spiritual truth you can. You have to take all power away from it. You have to enter into the sacred fire. You have to love that resurrection healing chamber that Mother Akasha had created for you. Or you could take a pause, even if you're in the rousing now and something's acting up. And in the privacy of your own home, speak to your multi-body system and say, if there is anything acting up in my mind, my body, my feelings, that could be an offense to my divinity, get out of me now. Go into the sacred fire and be no more. Now, do you understand the term I'm using when I say could be an offense to my divinity? You ought to understand that. And if you will do this, sometimes your energy listens to you, the energy of your multi-body system, and it listens to you. And that energy says, okay, but it doesn't really move. It'll wait to see if you're really serious. Are you going to come back and give this command? Are you going to keep the command up? Are you going to come back tomorrow and say, look, I spoke to you, my mind, body, and feelings. If you are holding anything, and remember, disease is an offense to God. If you're holding anything that could be an offense to my divinity, let go and leave me now. Speak it in the name of your own divinity. Speak it in the name of Jesus Christ. And speak it in the authority of I, the goddess of Venus. And I will make sure that this phase is over swiftly for each of you. And nothing stands in the way of you unfolding your beautiful spiritual nature. Secondly, if you will call to the lords of the flames of Venus, their numbers are already increasing upon your planet. They are given this name, Lords of the Flames of Venus, because they can instantly create any flame. I say to you, Camelot, Camelot. And those who sat at the round